got it off like marketplace.
How much was it?
I think I paid a bit for it at the time, but you can buy them now for about 150. But you can get other kinds. I know Josh has one that's sort of smaller, and I think it's battery operated, so it takes up less space on your table.
Yeah. Which is for me. I just need to go.
Which is good.
I just need to get a table. That's the only
table's
problem.
good.
I hate the handheld ones.
Tables are good. You can pick one up, and you might leave one behind at Green Gully like Brent did last year, but you can always pick up another one for probably $30 at an outdoor store, and they're pretty handy.
Is this your banana?
Oh, yeah, I left that there. Might have that at half time.
Sure you don't want to chop it, though?
We'll see. Might be traded up.
Might be traded up.
He's our stats man.
Ready to go with all these. This is what takes me the longest.
Oh mate, that looks like a form guide for the races.
This is because I felt privileged because I got to shadow Simon Hill.
Oh sick.
And Archie Thompson at the Australia Cup. And I was very grateful for it. And I saw his notes, and they were literally pinpoint exactly like I've only just gone and copied his notes with like the way he formats them.
Did he have them on a computer, or did he have
all
them
printed out?
Yeah.
All printed out.
He used to do all handwritten stuff.
He does his crib sheet. The main sheet is all handwritten, which is what I do for like A-League games or something.
Yeah.
But for these ones, when there's no table, I just do it on here. Like I've got everything in, I just swipe. Because I was doing it like that, and it just they didn't have a table. I didn't have anywhere to put it.
Where are you going to put it? On the ground?
Exactly.
Bending
Like
down
the
to pick
first
it up.
couple of games,
That looks a bit like Simon Hill's notes actually.
I'll take it.
I've seen his famous notes from Australia 3, Japan 1 from 2006 World Cup.
Where is it? Hang on. He sent me a
They
photo.
look a lot like that.
He sent me a photo of that.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So it's got like name, attacking mid, 18, and then like you just got stats in case you need. So
yeah,
somewhat.
Yeah, like this is awesome because you've got it all there. Like, you're never going to say all these things.
Exactly, but I've got it.
But it's there.
For another game. Exactly. And then I think the main thing is just, I guess, for last year it took me all to do it. That took me a day. I've gotten a little bit better now. Like Georgie's is a little bit easier because I mean, there's not much information on the players.
No.
Which is again frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
Because if you want to like really talk about the players, you can't exactly.
So I'll have this video running as well for us to check the replays. And digital clock here as well, which is good now. I'll take the speakers out onto the pitch and then Bernard should be back shortly.
Perfect.
Pretty quiet over here now that the new
stand.
Yeah.
That was my, because I wasn't confident as much last year.
Yeah.
My biggest worry was doing the game and someone sitting right there. Now it's actually fine.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about noise cancelling headphones is it sort of blocks out the people around you.
Yeah, the worst one's home in the utilities. Because you're doing it and everyone's...
People walk past you while you're doing your sign off. Yeah.
People are just so quiet.
Yeah. problem at like say South Melbourne or somewhere where it's a bit long. Far back. Oh yeah, for sure.
Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
Ready, Bernard? Stefan, by the way. Stefan. Nice to meet you, brother. They're double. I like my stats.
Got some good stats for us.
Last time these two teams played was 15 years, 10 months and 20 days ago.
And the score was
Score was 4-1 at Chaplin Reserve. No, it wasn't actually. I'm sorry.
2-1. I think what I've got is Georgie's got relegated, but they beat Oakleigh 2-1 twice that season in 2010, I think. Then they beat them 4-1. Oh, was it Oakleigh's last win was in 2006.
Yeah. Which was 19 years, 7 months and 25 days ago.
Will that early on, I reckon that'd be good.
I will.
July 2006. How old were you then?
I was 1. I was actually 1.
Sure, yep. Here we go.
Test, 1, 2.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good evening and welcome to Jack Edwards Reserve. The lights are on and we are ready for game time after this sound check.
Oh, listen to that. Yeah, 15 years, 7 months and 19 days ago. Talk about that for a while.
Especially if there's a while early on. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's listed as a while.
Okay, perfect. Move your box a little bit further just so I can get my little cord a little bit.
welcome to Jack Edwards Reserve. Friday night football, round 6 of the Senol NPL Victoria men's competition. It's the first meeting of Oakleigh Cannons and George Cross in 16 years, and it promises to be an intriguing affair. Stung by a hungry Heidelberg attacking outfit last week, Chris Taylor's side has some things to put right this evening. They have just 2 wins from their 5 outings. Scoring hasn't been a problem, though, ticking along at 2 goals per game, but their defensive lapses have been costly. For Eric Vasiliadis, his Georgie's defence has been the name of the game, conceding just 2 goals on a remarkable unbeaten run for the newly promoted outfit in the first 5 rounds. Can they keep it tight again tonight? Steve Curtin with you to describe this one. Alongside me, it's a special welcome to you, Stefan Georgic. Good evening.
It is a pleasure to be here with you, Steve. First time I've actually called a game, so I'm very excited. My first time down here calling a game at Jack Edwards Reserve. First time actually seeing this incredible stand right directly opposite us. It is going to be a beauty. 2 questions for me that I have for both these 2 sides is how can the Oakleigh Cannons bounce back after that disappointing loss that they had here last week against Heidelberg United, a game that was very, very one-sided. And then how can the Georgies respond? Obviously a very, very solid 1-1 draw at Jenna Steele Stadium against Preston. Can they back it up once again here this evening? A couple questions for them that I would like to see them go. So both these 2 sides, again, we're going to have to wait and see how they're going to fare. I'll take you through the starting lineup for the Oakleigh Cannons. We have number 21, Tom Manos, in between the sticks. The 2 fullbacks will be Kingsley Sinclair and Connor Hampson. The 2 central defenders of Brodie Boyce and Jordan Hall. Cameron McGilp and Campbell Strong will be the 2 defensive midfielders. Joe Guest, the attacking midfielder, as usual. One to watch out for. Liston Diaz on the left flank position, and on the right flank position will be Labib. And the man up front, number 9, will be Alex Salmon.
Well, let's take a look at that Georgie's team that comes off that 1-1 draw last Friday night at Preston. The player out of the team tonight is Zeb Hernando, and it's a first appearance of the season for Morgan Filer, the defensive player that comes back in. Scored 6 goals from central defence last season. He'll line up alongside Maker in defence after being cleared from suspension was Morgan Filer. Ross Vasiliadis, Jordan Tucker making up the rest of the defence. 11 saves last week for Christian Siciliano, who starts in goal in midfield. Nicholas Dibb, Justin Spiteri. The number 10 is Luke Lofts out wide. Leo Marzis, Aidan Buster-Dunagic, and leading the line is Josh Whiteley. We're underway. Our match referee tonight, Yanni Miletus, and he's assisted by Jackson Landy, Didac Lee, the 4th official, Michael Ularis. Georgie's in their white kit. They're going to be playing to the northern end of the venue here, Edward Street, the right of your screen at home. And their fans, Steph, are in good voice. There's not a massive contingent of them. It's a long, long trip here from Fraser Rise. It's one of the longer away trips in NPL Victoria, but they're making plenty of noise, and they have been for the last 45 minutes.
And they've definitely been cheering them on, especially in the warm-up. Maybe they might have had a couple of drinks in them, which is good to see, however, from the Georgies fans, because we need a little bit of atmosphere like this, especially down here in the Senol NPL Victorian competition. I do want to also touch 2 new players in the starting lineup for the Oakleigh Cannons. Jacob Tratt is out along to Joseph Forday. Labib is in along to Cameron McGilp. Those 2 players making the change in the starting lineup this week. And those 2 players, Joseph Forday and Jacob Tratt, are on the bench as well.
Looking at those subs for Georgie's tonight, the super sub, the man they look to come on and create Yagub Mustafa is there amongst the subs again. Agor Manuel is there. Lucas Burns, another creative outlet, available to come on for Eric Vasiliadis, as well as Otman Benedou. Sub-keeper Emmanuel Prifty, and also the youngster getting a go on the bench tonight, Michael Samaras, in the number 32 jersey, biding his time on the pine, waiting for that opportunity. We've got a first corner kick of the evening. Vasiliadis taking his time heading over there to take this one. To watch here will be Morgan Filer. It was touch and go. He only just got cleared by the Federation to play in this one just before kickoff. He'd served the suspension that he had incurred in the under-23, so the laws state that the 23s had played before this, so he'd served that suspension and therefore was eligible to make his top-tier NPL Victoria debut here with Georgie's tonight, and he'll be one of the focal points on the end of this corner from Vasiliadis to the back post area.
off the chest of Joe Guest, who was marking the post. Well, there's another advertisement for those people who are still fans of having players on the post and set pieces there, Steph.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was an all right looking corner there from the Georgies. It was very, very close. It was Jordan Tucker that was in at the back post position. We'll see if they can try and convert. We go from near side to far side from the Georgies. It's a very low corner that goes towards the front post, and that one will go over the byline. And it still will be with the Georgies. So far, Georgies with the football in the opening couple of minutes. I'd like to see how they're going to obviously keep the momentum going. Last week, a 1-1 draw. They looked very strong in that first half against Preston, but it was kind of in the late stages of that first half that Preston pretty much found the groove. And I mean, we saw what we were pretty much expecting from Preston, how strong they'll be. But I mean, Georgies, as you mentioned, their defense only conceding 2 goals. Sensational from Eric Vasiliadis' outfit.
The defence was amazing last week. 11 saves for Christian Siciliano, getting himself into the team of the week. They didn't have Michael Soutsides. This is another player who's out injured tonight. Johnny Apostolopoulos, another player who hasn't played in defence. They've got so many defensive options if they can get them all fit. And Tucker did a good job deputising central defence last week.
I'd like to see Johnny Apostolopoulos as well, making the switch, of course, from Heidelberg United, one of the key players there. I'd like to see him obviously make a start. We've seen a couple of players from Heidelberg United that have made the switch out. Mohamed Adara, a player that was still kind of yet to see how he'll actually fare. So, again, a couple of those Heidelberg United players that have switched still yet to make an appearance, especially, as you're mentioning to me, Johnny Apostolopoulos doing laps around the pitch here. So,
well, he's been doing laps pre-match. I saw him in round 2. He was running laps of the pitch, so he must be getting that conditioning and getting closer to being available to line up for Eric Vasiliadis. He's a good player, and hopefully we can see him out there. He's got the shorter hair these days. He used to have the mullet when he was at Heidelberg, and short back and sides is order of the day out of Fraser Rise, it seems. Symptomatic of their workmanlike attitude that we've seen from them this season. It's Philo, he wins the aerial duel, so exerting himself early. Welcome returnee for Vasiliadis. He's the Welshman. His guest, his passes straight into the advertising hoardings. Not something we're used to seeing from the Oakleigh captain.
Such a strong player he is, Joe Guest. I mean, the Bill Fleming 2025 Bill Fleming medalist, along too with the NPL men's gold medalist as well. So he's got the credentials for it. Probably, in my opinion, the most consistent all-round player in the Senol NPL Victorian competition. So keep your eyes out for him. He's pretty much the absolute set stone for this Oakleigh Cannons. Pretty much the team built around him. So, I mean, he's definitely, once he gets rolling, he's really, really scary to watch. And for an attacking midfielder, last year he ended up 3rd on the Golden Boot race as well.
It's amazing, continually pulling out mountain of assists. Assisted last week in their late comeback. It was all academic in the end with the 2 late goals. Scored one as well, of course, setting up the goal for Boyce to come on and score in the 90th. 2 minutes after he'd scored his first goal of the evening himself. It was too little too late as far as Oakleigh was concerned, but he tried to make it into a grandstand finish in front of the brand new grandstand on the far side. Doesn't that look a picture there? We've got Bernard behind the camera tonight giving you an excellent look at that fantastic piece of infrastructure over there. And big congrats to everyone involved in making that happen, and hopefully we can see more venues around the state, Steph, with grandstand facilities like that. A great view for the spectators, and it's only going to make people want to come and enjoy the game all the more if they can watch it from a nice elevated spot. As Guest is trying to catch Christian Siciliano off his line, but he sliced that one off the outside of the boot.
Too bad from Christian Siciliano. They're just coming out of his spot a little bit. Joe Guest keeping him honest, keeping him back between the sticks, keeping him in his position, well deservedly so.
Shows you the intellect of Joe Guest, doesn't it? He's clearly been watching the footage of the Georgies games, and he's seen that Siciliano is known for playing a sweeper keeper role as a young modern style of goalkeeper, playing a bit higher up the park, and he was a long way out from his goal there. Just didn't quite have the accuracy this time.
I've already seen a couple of those as well where, you know, I mean, spoke about in the Melbourne derby, you know, I mean, you saw Patrick Beach come all the way out, and Yuan Mata ended up booting that ball directly past him. So we're seeing it a lot more frequently, as it was a really, really strong press there by Whiteley, pressing up on Tom Manos. got a little bit scary there for the Oakleigh Cannons fans. I mean, but we see so much of the goalkeeper coming out, creating a little bit more of a high line, and sometimes when it doesn't really go according to plan, it does go to bite you. As maker, just trying to keep the ball alive on the far side for the Georgies. 4 games happening across the Senol NPL Victorian competition tonight. At the moment, we've got half-time between the Bentley Greens and Green Gully with a 1-0 lead by the Bentley Greens. Dandenong City and Hume City, it's the 39th minute in that game at Frank Holohan Soccer Complex, still 0-0. And of course, our focus is set here at Jack Edwards Reserve. And then, of course, we have an exciting matchup still waiting to take place between the Preston Lions and Avondale, as that ball's gone straight onto the grandstand. It's luckily rolled back over and back onto the pitch as well. So we'll keep you up to date with all the scores as they do go on throughout the evening, if there should be any goals, which I'm sure there'll definitely be in abundance.
There's a chance for Connor Hampson. Suffered an injury in the second half last week, but past fit to start tonight. Which is good news for Chris Taylor. He doesn't have the depth at left back like he did last season, where he had both Matthew Dent and Connor Hampson available at his disposal. Good to see Cam McGill back in the midfield there. He's had a couple of appearances off the bench and came on at half-time last week. Heavy strapping on the knee still. He's working his way back into his usual match fitness, and he's a player who's smaller in stature but putting himself about there was Connor Hampson this time, his guest. You can see that Georgies are doing everything they can to close down the time on the ball for Joe Guest, and that time it was Spiteri, who typically we're used to seeing him play as a right back. He's switched last week during the match into that central defensive midfield role, and he might even be man-marking Joe Guest, so keep an eye on that one as the game proceeds. Steph?
I'd like to see how this Oakleigh Cannons team can try and exploit this defense of the Georgies. I mean, Eric Vasiliadis has done such an incredible job at setting up this defense, so he might have a little opportunity here. The first one, listen, Diaz. Turn around, tries to set it up and tries to cross it in, and it was a failed attempt. Leo Marzi, who was exceptional last week in that game against Preston, who sends it right down the line with this right-hand flank, tried to set it up for Whiteley. It's a little bit too far out of position, trying to chase that ball a little bit too far ahead of steam, and that ball just going over the touchline. The 16th meeting, Steve, between these two sides. The last time these two teams faced off, as you mentioned, 16 years ago. The last time that the Oakleigh Cannons won was, I was 1 year old when that game ended up taking place, all the way back on the 23rd of July 2006. They ended up getting a 4-1 victory, the Oakleigh Cannons did, at Chaplain Reserve. It's been 7,180 days since the Oakleigh Cannons last beat the Georgies, so quite a while in between drinks, shall we say, between the two sides, actually, and especially for the Oakleigh Cannons tasting victory against the Georgies. There's a little bit of collision there on the pitch, and both plays seem to be all right.
It's a funny history. You're quite right to mention that, step between these two sides. It's the attack just developed here, but it's a good intervention again by Spiteri, who's doing his best to wear Joe Guest like a glove. Their last 6 meetings, Georgies won 4 and drew 2, so unbeaten in their last 6 against the Cannons. Albeit 16 years ago, we have to go back to the most recent fixture. And that last time the Cannons did win, a couple of famous players on the score sheet. One, Nilo, a legend here with Oakleigh with the double, and Anthony Paladin with the double as well, a star of the NSL with the Melbourne Knights before that.
That last win that Oakleigh did win, that was their very last win that they had. They ended up having a 6-win streak against the Georgies that day as well. So they've definitely smelled quite a lot of success against them. Georgies, however, I mean, they've had the more recent success. 16th meeting, as I mentioned. Both teams sit at 6 wins apiece. 3 draws as well. The first meeting actually ended up in a 2-2 draw as well, Chaplain Reserve. So both these two teams have the history. Whoever ends up getting the win here today, they'll have the bragging rights, or they might be walking away and they might be adding to those 3 draws that they've had. So, I mean, 12 minutes in so far, it's looking like a pretty even game here, Steve.
It's everything we expected to see from Georgie so far. Workman-like, tenacious, closing down those players. And, Cannons try and get the ball, feed it through Joe Guest in the final third. Not giving too much space out wide to Liston Diaz. They know he's a danger man as well.
We saw how dangerous he was last year as well at Port Melbourne Sharks.
Play a lot of football last year, but when he did, he seemed to get himself on the score sheet almost every time.
Exactly right.
Fail in a team that was sitting at the foot of the table. It's away by Hampson, a touch for Guest, who found a little pocket of space. Mr. Diaz is closed down quickly by Maker in the centre circle, and it's the first yellow card of the evening. You see from match referee Yanni Miletus. He was quick to brandish that one, and he lets the game keep flowing on. So good refereeing from our officials tonight so far. Here's Guest. What a lovely turn that is. And he can open up the field here. This is Strong, and now Diaz, who hooks it into the far post. Arriving was Kingsley Sinclair, playing in that more advanced role. A bit of license from Chris Taylor to go on and fill your boots there, and he almost did.
To see how this Oakleigh Cannons team manages to pick apart this back third of the Georgies. A really promising little sequence of play there from the Oakleigh Cannons. That man once again, Joe Guest, how can we not talk about him? Probably the most accomplished player in the Senol NPLM men's Victorian competition. He's always there or thereabouts, contending for so many awards, and you can just see where that played. Let's see if the Georgies can try and respond. All the way out to Labib. It's brought up in the air by Strong, brought down once again. McGilp is on the football, out to Salmon, who's going to try and play it down the line. This could be another chance. Sinclair, who's trying to pursue it. And that ball once again being traded. Airball kicks at the moment. No team really in any real possession as McGilp going down with Nicholas Dibb. A bit of a scrappy sequence of play there for the Georgies, along to for the Cannons.
What have the Georgies got here as they try and send the ball into attack? Moment, Cannons matching the tenacity from the men in white shirts. Genuine rainmaker. It's going to come down. Good conditions here tonight as well. It's perfect conditions for these footballs. A little cooler. It's dropped down to 18 degrees. Not a breath of wind here. Pitch is in really good nick, so there's no excuses for either side not to be playing their best tonight. It's Chiliano who sends it forward on that trusty right boot. Hampson just about read it best as he duelled with Marzi. Stride forward with it now and try and play it beyond Tucker to Liston Diaz. And running ahead of him was Joe Guest, but again, well read by Maker. Play it out there on a yellow card so far.
Beautiful sequence of play there from Oakleigh, but then once again it's that back third that's just really punishing Oakleigh at the moment. I'd like to see how, once again I've already mentioned, I'd like to see how they can really try and fight that back third, if they can try and pick apart a little bit of an opening. Hampson's going to throw it back in. All the way back out to Hall, who's managed to find McGilp, who's one-on-one trying to bait Luke Lofts into a little bit of a mistake to get him out of his position. Hampson back in central in the middle of the park. They're going to opt to switch it. Boyce thought about it. It goes back to this near side. Just looking to try and create some small little chance of an opening. Strong. Going to go all the way back once again to Boyce. As Steve mentioned, was the last minute goal scorer last week against Heidelberg United. The game was pretty much won at half-time by Heidelberg United. So far they've managed to find a little bit of a groove that's looking much more promising this time around than last week.
Coming on scoring last week, and the reward he gets is to get moved down to central defence. So no irony lost there from Chris Taylor, who has moved the magnets around a little bit tonight to cover some of those players who've been dropped to the bench. So we've seen Labib, who's been playing as a winger. He's been moved back to the right back position where he's quite capable, the man who's come across from Western Australia, Olympic Kingsway. And the first start of the season for Brodie Boyce. He's been a regular starter in the last couple of seasons. He's had to bide his time coming off the bench so far, getting his chance from central defence. Diaz picked to play this one in. It's well away by Maker. Siciliano was again off his line by a few yards. It's going to fall for Strong to the back post area. Arriving is Kingsley Sinclair. Oakleigh have lift-off here at Jack Edwards. What a great ball into the box. And Kingsley Sinclair just made it look so simple. 1-0 to the Cannons.
A beautiful, beautiful build-up, and it's been promising from this near-side position on this left-hand side flank. Just the ball crosses have been immaculate, and once again, Oakleigh, they've been persistent on this side, even though it's been the back third of the Georgies that shut them down, and all they needed was an opening in Kingsley Sinclair towards the back post, just managing to slot that ball into the back of the net, and just like that, Oakleigh, they found a little bit of rhythm and picking up where they left off towards the end of last game.
If you want to watch a lesson in how to supply an excellent teasing cross there, Campbell's strong. One touch out of his feet, just played it into the back post. And that Georgie's defence that's been so hard to breach this season was really anywhere to be seen as Kingsley Sinclair, another player who's been shuffled around from central midfield and has been shifted up to the right flank tonight, that right wing in the front three. And, well, he's pretty happy to be playing up there, I think, Steph, because he's got himself on the score sheet tonight. Inside 20 minutes in this one. It's only the third goal that Georgies have conceded this season in their sixth game tonight.
Still so hard to believe that. They're just so strong defensively, but let's see if they can try and not let this one unravel. Obviously, they haven't had too many goals that they've conceded so far. Obviously, they conceded one against England Thunder. That's probably their most recent one that they've had.
Kingsley Sinclair getting his first of the season, 4 last year, 7 for the Cannons in total. He'll be telling Chris Taylor he wants to play on the right wing every week.
Should also mention they did also concede one last week, and that one will draw to Preston, as this might be a chance here for the Georgies. Chance goes begging somewhat, however, it's still in their possession. Tucker, who manages to nutmeg straight through the feet of Diaz, who's in a little bit of space on this near side. However, it's just shut down by that Oakleigh defense that was just set up for that play. That ball did go over the touchline, I believe, and it's a free kick here for the Cannons instead. So promising little build-up for the Georgies, but just Oakleigh read it like a library book at the moment.
Tucker trying to get involved again. It's he that had the best chance for the Georgies so far with that header from the Vasiliadis corner in the opening 2 minutes. It was blocked off the line by Joe Guest, but it's been slim pickings for the Georgies apart from that so far tonight. I saw the experience of Liston Diaz winning that free kick a moment ago there. He just knew where to put his body in there and convince Yanni Miletis that it needs to be a foul for the Cannons.
Never in doubt for the Cannons whatsoever. All the Cannons players just going off to Yanni Miletis, looking for somewhat of a free kick, and they end up getting it. So the first set piece of the game, and the real one for the Cannons, and it looks to be Joe Guest getting ready to take it. Who else would you rather have than Joe Guest taking this one? I mean, the man that creates so many opportunities. Not only can he score goals, but he can set up his teammates in ways that you wouldn't even imagine. Boy, would everyone love Joe Guest on their team. Joe Guest just goes down the line, and that one, I spoke good about him, and he just lets me down there, Joe Guest. So I think a little bit of an unorthodox play. Let's see what they can provide. Whiteley with a little bit of a back heel flick. Marzi goes in centrally. Once again with a switch up. Beautiful. Spiteri clearing it out wide. What can Georgies do here? Mustadanagic out wide once again. What can they provide? And that one soaring well over into the walkway just behind the goal. And that chance goes begging for the Georgies. So promising build-up of play, but just the execution was a little bit off there from Ross Vasiliadis.
Yeah, I like what the Georgies are trying to do there, switching the play from one side to the other, but the composure when they got it over to the far side. So a little bit of work to do. They have found themselves in an unusual situation, having to chase the game. They've conceded so few goals this season that they haven't really had to deal with this. They did have to overcome Danny Thunder at home earlier in the season. Conceded a wonder strike there. Otherwise, they've been already in front. And here's Guest. Could he make it 2? Oh, Siciliano got a hand out. He's asking questions, I think, of the referee more so than his defence. He's not too happy, but Guest probably really should have made it 2 there. And it was Route 1 stuff from Tom Manos' long goal kick. Flicked on. They thought it was a foul there, I think, against Alex Salmon they were appealing for. Corner kick. Oh, hit Boyce more than him meeting the ball. corner on the far side. So, a bit of drama in this one.
Sure, they'd love to try and convert one here. It'll be really, really promising if they can. Joe Guest, I mean, I don't want to speak too good about him again because he let me down with that free kick, but
it was a real commentator's curse.
It was a real commentator's curse. Let's see if he can try and provide it this time. This time the corner's looking a little bit more promising. And Brody Boyce is directly under that one. He'll be spewing with himself. Would have loved to get another one in the back of the net. He doesn't get too many shots on them, but boy, he made his opportunity count last week, and I'm sure another chance. He'll get plenty more as the season does progress, and another chance just goes out of the window for the Cannons.
He's one that George will need to watch. He's good in the air. Credit to Spiteri there, who just jumped shoulder to shoulder enough for him to put him off his header. It's Labib playing it on. Looking for the flick on. Well, marshalled though by Morgan Filer. It's a dip. It's back to Maker. Of course, there's no Tyler James, who's been a standout early in the season for Georgies. He's not featuring again tonight through injury. Still no Michael Sutsides either, who's looking to come back from a quad injury. Dan Cutler as well, who started in the number 9 position early in the season. Another player missing through injury.
A couple of big players out for Georgies, and you wouldn't expect them to be doing this reasonably well with a couple of big-time players that they have missing out of their lineup. Dip tried to thread the ball out. He had Marzi in his sights. Guest works it back off to Hampson, who tried to go down a line and instead couldn't quite manage to nail it and went for a Georgie spectator directly right next to the fence.
Disappointing for Nick Dibb there. He had picked up the ball from Tucker and won it back, and he kicked ahead of him to Marzi and played it straight into Cam McGill. Didn't see him or he wasn't there. There's a chance for Hall. He can switch the play to Brody Boyce, scorer last week. Central defender tonight. Here is tonight's goal scorer, Kingsley Sinclair, in the long sleeves, trying to bring it down. Well marshalled by Vasiliadis, who's happy to just use the 7-9 to put it into touch.
Really, this game, we've just settled things down a little bit in the meantime. We do have liftoff at Avenger Park between Avondale and the Preston Lions. We'll keep you updated with all the scores. Still 1-0 between the Bentley Greens and Green Gully. Still 0-0 as well between Dandenong City and Hume City. 1-0 here, of course, at Jack Edwards, and still 0-0 between the Preston Lions and Avondale. Manos with the long kick. Ball sitting up in the air. Diaz flies up high, and it's Joe Guest once again on the football. Hampson tries to thread it off and manages to get it to Strong, who fell down. It was an opportunity for Spiteri that went begging, and here's Joe Guest on the left-hand flank. Tries to cross it back in. No one was inside the box that time, going straight into the hands of Christian Siciliano. Good promising build-up for the Oakleigh Cannons on this near side, really utilising this left-hand flank position. They found something that might be catching the Georgies off guard. Sinclair plays it centrally. Salmon plays it down the line once again. Sinclair, the beautiful ball inside. Tried to find Guest, who was inside, but they were outnumbered, and they still have it here. The Cannons. Sinclair tries to set it up. The Tucker managed to header it away. It's looking really, really promising here. The pressure has just ticked over onto another level here for the Cannons, and they're really putting the Georgies under a different level of pressure that they probably haven't seen and they felt all year.
It's just all starting to click. Kingsley Sinclair moving from central midfield again, showing that versatility he has. I thought he might have even moved back to right back when we were going through our pre-match notes, Steph, but as it turns out, Labib moving to right back, and Sinclair has been really good in that right wing position, got himself on the score sheet, and Jordan Tucker has been so important for Georgie so far, making 2 crucial interventions as a long ball from Leo Marzi was audacious.
It was risky. I spoke about it. The highlight from the goalkeeper, it's definitely looking risky, but I guess it just shows you the experience and just the overall awareness of Tom Manos, sensing that long ball was coming in, and we just saw him getting back before that ball was even kicked. So really, really smart plays. He tries to go once again out. Kingsley Sinclair seems to be their main target at the moment, but they've managed to switch it up a little bit. The big body there, it was just going to try and hold things up here. Labib, centrally, threads it out to Diaz. Hampson goes down the line once again on this left-hand flank, and Joe Guess is not going to bother with that run. And it will be Christian Siciliano's football here.
You just touched on, Steph, that duel between Morgan Filer and Alex Salmon. It's been pretty entertaining so far. There's been a bit of argy-bargy between those two.
Couldn't recognise Morgan Filer for a second. I'm like, who's this new kid that's been playing? Because we haven't really
in the gym in the off-season.
Exactly.
Too.
There's not really too much footage of him actually playing as well. He just finished up playing for the under-23s as well. On double duty.
An unusual situation, but big thanks to Georgie's for filling us in on the information. Originally, he wasn't on the team sheet. Peter Couchy coming over to explain. Team manager extraordinaire, hats off to him. Suspension was incurred in the 23, served in the 23 match immediately before this. Allowing the time to tick over and adding to the team sheet. There he is playing the ball forward again. Driving header was by Hall. Usual central defensive part of the trap alongside him tonight. He's on the bench. Marcy's turn pass is almost a little short. Going right through Tucker, he's been about the most important player for Georgie so far.
They tried to go quick, but Yanni Mielides, he didn't have any little bit of it whatsoever there, really just getting them to say, no, get back in your position. There he is, Morgan Filer. Speak of the devil, there he is.
Can't miss him in those yellow boots either.
Well, can you with those arm tats? Definitely suit him, might I add. Especially with those bright yellow boots. He's definitely got quite the presence out there, especially with the way that he's playing, the stature. You can definitely tell he's been lifting quite a lot of iron.
I think him and Josh Whiteley might have been spotting each other in the gym because tight fitting t-shirts on those boys. But yeah, definitely Filer, his fashion sense, not quite the same as his old man Craig. I don't think you'd see Craig in the bright yellow boots. It'd be World Cup or Copa Mundials all the way for Craig.
I don't think you'd see a tight t-shirt on him either. I think he was persistent on his t-shirt size. He didn't want to go up one. I'm sure the Georgie's equipment manager was pretty adamant on that. Leo Marzi trying to break past Connor Hampson, and he does eventually. This might be a good ball there. And it was very, very close. Justin Spiteri was there to try and recover it and put the ball in the back of the net. But Tom Manos, the awareness from him, just too strong there. And Joe Guess is going to try and roll it. They're going coast to coast here. Listen, Diaz. They've got an open goal square. It might be a chance. And Maker just there to clean it up. Beautiful play there. The passage of play was solid. And the awareness, knowing that Christian Siciliano was completely out of his position. Maker making up for it as well. Super from the former Dandenong Thunder player. We might have another chance here. Joe Guess who's going to cross it in. It's looking promising. Salmon was under the ball. And that ball just going to be cleared out, and the Georgies can just take a short little sigh of relief there. Labib going to try and cross it in. Tucker goes soaring up in the sky. And Nicholas Dibb just recovers it. A little bit of high intensity action here between these two. Not bad for your Friday night football here, Steve.
The intensity is up, and Georgies can't afford to cop another goal. Just be so far back for them if they go 2-0 down here, so far away from home. And we said that they've been so good not conceding. They've only conceded the 2 before tonight. They've also only scored 5, so can't see them having a huge comeback situation if they go down by a couple of goals in this one. Just seeing again Jordan Tucker, umpteen clearances he's made, putting his body on the line for that defence, and I'm sure he's going to have more work to do. The ball was a clever one, but a little bit too vertically angled. It was straight through to Siciliano.
Speak about their attack. Last year they had 77 goals, only conceded 35. They had the third best defence behind the other two teams that have been promoted in the top flight, that being the Bentley Greens and Melbourne City. So the defence is on point. And just the offense at the moment is lacking a little bit, but still, round 6, they can definitely pick up a lot more steam. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Some players they can bring back into this team for squad depth and balance, and got that know-how from last season and really punishing teams. And sniff against some of the opposition, particularly those lower in the table. They're the ones that are going to be important, those games. The teams that are in the bottom 4 or 5 places to keep picking up the points against them. But it's been a great start by Georgies. They've exceeded everyone's expectations. So many people had them tipped for relegation. They didn't, in their wildest dreams, imagine that Georgies would be unbeaten on 9 points from their first 5 games. And they're still in this one because their defence has worked so hard to keep them in this one despite the number of chances that Oakleigh has had. The latest one, of course, that one from an acute angle that fell to Liston Diaz. Trying to channel that tight angle that Sam Kerr scored from in the semi-final of the Asian Cup that had all the maths teachers getting the protractors out the next day for the high school kids.
I think it goes to show just how strong this Georgie squad is. I think Eric Vasiliadis, he's done an incredible job at just building so much, not only chemistry, but just building so much talent in this team that they're just gelling really well. I mean, you saw Maker, the sense of awareness. When he saw Siciliano came out of the box, he came and just tried to recover it. He did an incredible job at, not allowing that ball to sail anywhere near an Oakleigh Cannons player, and it would have been very easy for Oakleigh to slot one in the back of the net. We could have possibly been staring down the barrel of a 2-0 lead at the moment, but at the moment, though, the Georgies defense is rocking. It might be on alert mode here as Kingsley Sinclair has it centrally in the centre circle. He's going to thread it out wide. Joe Guest, love to see his Fitbit at the end of this game. He's definitely been everywhere, the heat radar. Labib. At the back, Cameron McGill. He's one-on-one with Lofts. And that ball just going over the touchline.
That's what makes Joe Guest so good. Teams will try and man-mark him in that number 10 role. It's one of the positions that you typically want to look to try and close down. But he works so hard off the ball and gets into those wide areas to try and shake those tags and double-team fullbacks in the wide areas with another teammate. We've seen it again tonight with him floating to the left and more recently to the right over there in front of the subs bench on the far side.
Not only that as well is whenever the teams are going on a counter-attack, he's always right up against that back third, really pushing up, and he just manages to tick over a lot of teams' back third defense. He's always able to just get up front. He's got a little bit of an Archie Thompson-like sense to him. He doesn't get too many of the offside calls, but
not as many.
Definitely not as many. But it's just the awareness. Obviously, I mean, he's a player coming again from the national English tier, national 6 tier from the English league. So I mean, the Englishman, he's definitely got a lot of wealth of experience, and it's definitely being shown here. So keep your eyes out for him. He's definitely one player that was super, super solid. He had to definitely man up and play somewhat of a 9 and 10 position last year when Alex Salmon ended up going out. Again, for an attacking midfielder, finishing 3rd last year. It's definitely really impressive. Had 15 goals on the trot. This could be a chance here for the Georgies. Just working it back in. What can they try and make of it? It was Mustadanagic. Just working his way back centrally, and the ball will go over the touchline.
Well read again there. Campbell Strong and Cam McGill screening in front of the back 4. It's so hard to play through. The space between the lines is so little that there's a lot of room for Whiteley and Lofts to operate in. Consequently, those two have been a little bit quieter than they might have hoped. Just under 10 minutes until the half-time break. If Georgies could snag one before the interval, it would certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons here at Jack Edwards Reserve. As I mentioned, there's a small but vocal contingent of Georgies fans to our left, and they will be making some noise to our left and right, it's fair to say, Steph. Here's a chance for Salmon, back to goal. He's turned it over though. Marzi looking for some allies, and decides just to go back to Filer. Looks to go for that breaking switch of play out towards Aidan Mustadanagic, who tried to bring it down on his chest. All read by Boyce, who steps out of the defensive line. Not sure if that was aimed for Guest or Salmon, but it split the middle of the two of them and was easy for Georgies to win the ball back. So just trying to get a little bit of possession here perhaps for Georgies. They've had to play a lot of this match without the ball. Don't have the official possession stats in the Senol NPL Victoria at the moment, but I'm sure it would be favouring Steph, the boys in the navy shirts.
Definitely would be. I mean, you can definitely tell they're just outclassing the Georgies at the moment. And you can definitely see why the Oakleigh Cannons have been in the top flight for so long and why the Georgies are still inexperienced, are still kicking in a little bit. Obviously, a little bit early stage of the season, they might come and surprise a couple people, but this is generally the time when we do see the Oakleigh Cannons tend to gain a little bit of steam. Not the strongest start that we've known to come of seeing of them towards the start of the season. 2 wins of their last 5. And they haven't had the strongest record at home at the moment. A loss in the opening round against the Preston Lions. A loss last week. They did get a win, the 3-1 win against Altona Magic. This could be a chance here. Liston Diaz out wide from the beautiful ball by Connor Hampson in space. The ball was crossed in, headed away by Filer. Morgan Filer's awareness on point for that one. McGilp tried to thread it out. Thought about going out to Diaz. He thought he was still there, but Diaz had other thoughts. And that ball just going over the line once again, and Siciliano will get it back in play. But once again, it's that defense that the Georgies, they know where to be at the right time. And whenever Oakleigh are pressing out, they're looking really, really solid. And I mean, you can definitely tell why they are where they are. Only conceding 3 goals. They're just so sound in the back thirds there.
You can tell they're a tight-knit group, and the mentality of Eric Vasiliadis that he offers to his players, see that they're well organised, they communicate well. You can see Siciliano, plenty of communication from him, plenty from Filer as well. Tucker leading by example, Maker as well. Siciliadis is over on the far side, who's been working hard as well. He's having to get a tackle in here. Ball back, Gibb. Salmon's in a good pocket of space here. He could get the ball in early, and again, Filer at full stretch. He had to make that interception too, because lurking behind him was none other than the predator in the box in Joe Guest. In a corner here for the Georgies, as there's a bunch of, for the Cannons, there's a bunch of Cannons juniors just heading over behind the corner post here to offer support for Joe Guest as he looks to deliver the in-swinging corner here, the left footer. They're going to be lurking at the back post. It's well away by Dibb. Georgies with no player and an outlet man further up the pitch, so it's just going to run out of play for Cannons throw. Over near the players' race. Excellent grandstand facility. Get a full tour of that maybe at half-time. Steph, we can check it all out. Haven't seen inside yet, but it looks an absolute picture from here. But, no doubt if the Cannons can pick up their winning ways, we'll see that well populated as well. There's just 1 or 2 too many empty seats up there at the moment. Disappointing, but I'll tell you what, it looks beautiful. The one thing that I'm just in awe of is the lights down the stairs. It's the small details for me, and the lights down the stairs it gives it a real good feel to it. And I'll tell you what, maybe they might be going for trying to blind their opposition if they try and look back in that direction as it's in the back of the net. Man, it was close. Not quite. A chance goes begging there. Liston Diaz. A really strong ball there from Brody Boyce. But once again, a couple of these chances just go begging there for the Oakleigh Cannons. That's it. Like, Cannons could be another day. There could be a couple of goals up. They're not. Georgie's staying in this one. Need to start creating some chances at the other end. We see the likes of Dubner Stuffer brought into the game early in the second half, perhaps, as Vasiliadis is attacking down the flank, getting forward. Good switch of play by Aiden Puster-Dunagic. Good touch, Leo Marzi, and they could be in here, the Georgies. Leo Marzi with the curler. There's the moment. They've worked so hard to find the ball, and it pays off with Leo Marzi. Brilliant curler in the box. Back to 1-1 here at Jack Edwards. And persistence pays off for Georgies. Super solid. A late minute goal in the dying stage of this first half. Leo Marzi wrapping it around not only one defender, but managing to wrap it around Thomas Manos. You would never expect that. An unbelievable finish from an unbelievable player. Leo Marzi, take a bow, son. That was exceptional from him. His second goal of the season as well. Just adding to the tally. And just like that, we are level pegging as we go almost going into half-time here. It does not get any bigger. And putting a little bit of pressure back on this Oakleigh Cannons team, because they were well and truly comfortable, Steve, in almost this entirety of that first half. Ever since they scored that first goal, they didn't really
put that much pressure as probably what they would have liked. I mean, a couple chances went begging, and just like that, I mean, Georgies, how many chances did they have in that first half? All they needed was one real good look, and before you know it, Leo Marzi finds the back of the net as Listen Diaz tries to respond, and that one going towards the back fence.
Well, if you're a neutral at home watching this one on that football channel, NPL Victoria, you'll be absolutely loving this. If you're a Cannons fan, you'll be spinning cheeks because they should be in front. Manos actually hasn't made a save tonight. Double-checked the stats at half-time, but the only attempt on goal was blocked by Joe Guest from a header at the back post. Opening minute from the corner kick, and Manos hasn't really had a lot to do, but it's such a good quality strike from Leo Marzi. He loves getting into those sort of situations. Just curled that one on the left foot. It was sublime, but to mention that, his fellow winger on the other side, Mustadanagic, that switch of play is putting it right on the shoelaces of Leo Marzi to bring it down and fire it past Manos. The execution was amazing by both players. Vasiliadis, even if he's not outwardly smiling, he's going to be smiling on the inside. He's going to be absolutely ecstatic by the way his defenders have worked tirelessly in this first half. They've been asked a lot of them, back forward, as well as Siciliano. Well, they're going to go into the change rooms at half-time. 1-1, you fancy. If it stays like this, into first half stoppage time, of which there shouldn't be too much.
First half's been relatively easy. No real stoppages that we've seen, and we might have another opportunity here. One last minute roll of the dice in this first half by the Georgies, and you can see all the players just looking over at Yanni Milidis. I believe it still will be the ball with the Oakleigh Cannons. Leo Marzi, however, super from him, the former Melbourne Knight and Sutherland Sharks player, also a former Australian under-19s international player. Doing a super job out here, adding to his tally. He already scored one in round 3 against Dandenong Thunder in that 2-1 win at home, as you mentioned a little bit earlier on, Steve, and now adding to this one here into the equaliser. How would that one fare? I don't think that one will sit too well with Chris Taylor, considering his side had so many opportunities in this first half, but so many opportunities just went begging. And I mean, Tom Manos, as you mentioned, he hasn't had too many touches of the football. I can only possibly recall just the one where he was up on a high line and he did press back and did end up getting his hands on the football there, but that wasn't really a chance. That was more just of an awareness shot to really keep him honest, but I wouldn't really call that too much of a shot. So Tom Manos, once again, speak of the devil there, the ball goes straight into his hands.
Clean sheet for the Cannons tonight again. They have conceded more goals than they would have liked this season. That's the 10th that they've conceded so far this season. 3 last week. Quick and early succession in that first half against Heidelberg. Hard to get a read on at the moment. They've been scoring goals as well, so beauty for Cannons next week. In the box again, it's repelled. Diaz, again it's Tucker throwing himself at the football. Theatrics for the cameras from Siciliano as we hear half-time whistle from Yanni Milidis. And, well, I think this is probably the best way I could sum it up, Steph, is that this is one for the neutrals. If you like teams that work hard and slug it out and absorb a lot of pressure and then they can hit and take full advantage, Leo Marzi doing that to cancel out that goal by Kingsley Sinclair. What can we expect to see in the second half, and who do you rate the best from that first half?
I reckon it was good from both. I think Joe Guest was solid. Kingsley Sinclair looked promising as well. I think Leo Marzi, how can you not forget about him as well? I don't mind Morgan Filer as well in that back third, doing a really good job. I mean, he has had a full 90 minutes warm-up as well heading into this match, so he's looking strong, but I don't know. I think heading into this one, I think you can still see a couple of players that can step up. Campbell Strong ended up going a little bit quiet in that one for Oakleigh. I'd like to see him kind of get up and running. Aiden Mustadanagic, another player that can really kind of get involved a little bit more. So there's so many players that can kind of really get involved. I think I mean, you look at the regulars, Leo Marzi, Joe Guess, you know, the real ball getters from that one. But I don't know. I think throughout that entire game, throughout that first half, it was really, really solid. Good pressure from both ends. But I'd like to see the final third cleaned up a little bit more, especially from Oakleigh's end, with the amount of chances that they had. Listen, Diaz, probably their main target on this left-hand flank position. I'd like to see him kind of clean up his game especially, but we'll have to find out, I think. Also, quickly, wanted to touch on a 2-0 lead for the Bentley Greens against Green Gully in other news as well before we head on into half-time. So all the other games kind of staying neutral, a 2-0 lead for Bentley, Steve.
Well, not good news for the Cavaliers over at Kingston Heath, but we'll leave you for the half-time intermission here at Jack Edwards Reserve. 2 fine goals by Kingsley Sinclair on 18 minutes to get the ball rolling, and Leo Marzi to cancel that one out on 42 minutes. Sees us all square at halftime. You can take a look at those stats on the screen there, and of course you can see that Oakleigh's had plenty of play, but they haven't capitalised, and they'll be looking to pull their socks up a little bit in the second half, while Georgies will be happy with their output so far, as they're in line to get another point tonight. We'll be back after this halftime intermission, both myself, Steve Curtin and Stefan Georgic, on this broadcast of the Senol NPL Victoria men's competition, round 6. Oakleigh Cannons 1, Caroline Springs George Cross 1.
Good stuff, man. That was good.
We just need to get a goal scored while you're on the... The next one will be quite lower of averages, this one.
I haven't really called like one goal this season so far. And that was Subayu's goal.
Well, that was a good
Bentley
one.
Greens one.
Yeah.
the goalkeeper's been given a red card, and then they reverse the decision. I was trying to figure it out. I was clueless as to what was going on. Yeah, it did. Yeah. 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 I know, you can't tell. Hey, boys, 4-0. 4-0. 4-0. Yeah. 4-0. 4-0. Wow. Green Gully. Bentley Greens versus Green Gully. Yeah. That's embarrassing. Jeez. 4-0. That's wild. Yeah.
welcome back to Jack Edwards Reserve. It's the Senol NPL Victoria, round 6 of the men's competition. Friday night football here at Oakleigh South, and it's an interesting contest. Second half, plenty in store here. Locked at 1-1. It was largely one-way traffic for the Oakleigh Cannons in that first half, but Georgie's picked their moment. Leo Marzi cancelling out a goal by Kingsley Sinclair, and we're looking forward to seeing how this second half plays out. Georgie's, of course, still unbeaten this season, the newly promoted side. Steve Curtin and Stefan Georgic with you to talk you through this second 45. And Steph, welcome back to the broadcast position. Looking forward to this second half, mate.
Thank you very much, Steve. It was a pleasure doing that first half with you. Shall I stay? Let's see how this second half is going to fare. Again, just a couple of chances in that first half, mainly for Oakleigh, that they created, and it's just one of those games they can't really put that finishing touch in the back of the net. So we'll have to wait and see if they can try and put a little bit more finesse on that, try and set their players up in different ways. We'll have to wait and find out. Still 45 minutes of football in this second half to play in what's been so far a very, very exciting matchup from both the two sides. As you mentioned, if you're a fan of raw pressure and athleticism and everything and goals, so far this game's been for you. So unlike the other game that's happening, a 4-0 lead for the Bentley Greens taking on Green Gully over there at Kingston Heath Soccer Complex. This game, however, a little bit more neutral between the two. Still 0-0, might I add, as well, between Preston and Avondale, and still 1-0 in favour of Dandenong City against Hume City. So those are the scores in and around the grounds. Thought we may as well update you while we're still fresh into this second half, as Christian Siciliano only just managing to keep the ball right next to him. But Steve, what are you looking to try and expect and see here in the second half from both sides?
I think really for the Cannons, they're going to be looking for more of the same. Really effective in that front four. Kingsley Sinclair coming into that right wing position, getting involved. But see what Chris Taylor's got up his sleeve. Of course, he made 5 subs last week. It's not something you see from Chris Taylor every week, so he's not afraid to swing the changes, at least in recent times. We might see the bib there, just on the ball there, maybe getting forward a bit more. He's been really convincing playing in the front three. He's rating as the right back tonight, but the duel between him and Aidan Mustadanagic is one to keep an eye on, and it's going to be happening over and playing out on this broadcast side in this second half. So keep an eye on Labib, the number 25 for the Cannons, against the number 17 for Georgie's Aidan Mustadanagic, who supplied the assist for the goal scored by Leo Marzi to level things up at 1-1. Plenty of play on that far side of the pitch in the first half as well, Steph. I think the players are trying to give those fans in the VIP section, the grandstand, a armchair view up close, but hopefully this second half we get a little bit more play on this broadcast side. And a shout out to our cameraman Bernard, giving you the best look at the action, and special mention to Alex Zivkorowski as well, who's helping out as a sound tech tonight from home as he watches his team. I just say his team is the Georgies. To disclose that.
I think it's pretty evident, let's be honest, that his team's the Georgies. So shout out to Alex Zivkorowski as well, the great man watching at home, following along as he has been all last year, doing all of the Georgies VPL 1 games. So he's very, very familiar with his side. Their main media guy, so I guess we're allowed to say it, as it was a nice little ball there from Joe Guest, as you mentioned, from Labib. Let's see if he can try get a little bit more action, the newly appointed player from Olympic Kingsway. Be a little slip up here. Ross Vasiliadis this time getting involved. Labib managing to just retain possession. McGilp working his way and switching it on that far side. Jordan Hall likes to go down the line. Campbell Strong, a player that was relatively quiet in that first half. He's a player that I definitely like to see get a little bit more action in this second half. Kingsley Sinclair was a player that really got involved, the only goal scorer for the Cannons in that first half. He's a player, Campbell Strong, that I'd definitely like to see get a little bit more out and around, add a little bit of backup to Joe Guest, because if you're Oakleigh, you can't just have Joe Guest doing everything. There's only one Joe Guest out there. There's not 15 of them. I know every team would love to have 11 Joe Guests out there in the starting lineup, but Campbell Strong, we know how strong he is, no pun intended. No pun intended. He can be such a strong player when he is rolling. So I think he's been contained at the moment. And Georges have done a good job at really keeping him at bay. So Campbell's strong. Keep your eyes out for him. Number 15 is definitely a player that can definitely change up this game and really add another addition to this Oakleigh team out there.
He had that incisive moment when he did get away from the watch of the Georges midfield and defence to supply the assist for Kingsley Sinclair for the opening goal tonight. As you say, Steph, he's not been as busy as he might like to do, and speaking of changes of players that are multi-position players for Chris Taylor, wouldn't be surprised if we see Kingsley Sinclair drop back into one of those central midfield roles just behind Joe Guest, as one of their wooden players comes on later on. Some good options come on off the bench as the Georges corner, the active group for Caroline Springs, George Cross to our left, making some noise, cheering on the boys. A little bit pessimistic, some of the Georges corner guys, at the way that Caroline Springs, George Cross had played in this first 45. But similar to last week, they've given as good as they've got. They've defended hard and they've made the moments matter. Leo Marzi, the goal scorer, is on the ball here again. He hangs up the cross. Spiteri contesting it. Break here for Spiteri again to receive from Tucker. It's out of room. Labib on the ball. He's forced to go back. Lofted up the field by Boyce. He's trying to win. He wins the second ball after Gibbon initially won the header. McGill to switch the play. In fact, he comes back out to this broadcast side. Labib, who's been pinned back. He's going to try and get forward a little bit more as the second half goes on, perhaps. The draw isn't really a result that Oakleigh would be happy with tonight. They really want to get the 3 points. They haven't tasted victory in 3 weeks. Early season wins against Altona and St Albans, their solitary 2 wins this season in rounds 2 and 3. Some good football against Preston in round 1. Walked away with nothing as that game had a seesawing climax.
Pretty much caught Preston off guard as well with that early goal from Joe Guest as well. So definitely managed to keep the Preston fans at bay, but at the moment though, definitely not quite in their favour. The Georges have definitely picked up a little bit of steam. What can Oakleigh provide here is they're setting the play up beautifully. It's just the finishing touch in their final third that's really letting them down at the moment. And they do have a set piece here. So the first set piece of this second half. We do know the best set piece team in the world right now is Arsenal. Maybe they might produce a little bit of their inner gunners. I mean, they are a cannon after all. Arsenal is a cannon as well. So let's see if Oakleigh can try and muster up a little bit of set-piece magic. Is Joe Guest once again, who will be the taker of the free kick. They've got a couple players in and around in the position. A one-man wall of Leo Marzi right on the cusp of the box. Whistles in. This time it's a very low free kick. Once again, it's the second free kick that's gone low and hasn't really been direct from Joe Guest. Receives the ball from McGill. Tried to go back to McGill once again. Turnaround kick from Nicholas Dibb. Doesn't quite go anywhere. Lofts trying to keep it in play. Sinclair lets the play it down the line, and it's still alive here for Oakleigh. Diaz is towards the back of the pack, and it will be offside. So just a little bit of a traffic jam on that far side for the Georgies and Oakleigh, and let's see if the Georgies can try and create a little bit of an opening here.
Scrappy start to the second half. Steph in this one. He's coming out trying to maintain the rage that showed in the part of that first half. We saw it last week as well. They had to defend for huge periods of time. They opened the scoring, as they've done a few times this season. Last week at Preston, to the shock of the home crowd, but they had to dig in to hang on there. As we said earlier in the broadcast, Siciliano making 11 saves to save their bacon there and ensure they came home back to Fraser Rise with a point. Keep the undefeated run going. Keep it going again tonight. Advantage going the way of Georgies from Yanni Milidis. It's Ross Vasiliadis, shoulder to shoulder with Sinclair. It's going to be across the byline, and it's come off a Georgies player in Vasiliadis last.
Good to see the cheer squad of the Georgies getting out and about. Not too many adamant vocal supporters out here in the Senol NPL Victorian season.
We need more of it.
We definitely need a lot more of it. And I wouldn't mind a lot more of Oakleigh fans getting up and about, especially here. That stand's been relatively quiet. I mean, a great infrastructure build, but it needs a little bit more atmosphere. I mean, Preston probably got some strong, adamant fans. South Melbourne as well in the championship. How can we not forget about them? They were up and about. Heidelberg United, they got some really good support crew as well. So definitely like to see more of it. How can we not forget as well about Dandenong City support crew as well in that grand final last year. Very, very impressive. Vasiliadis with the throw-in. Goes down the line and just went into a pack, into a sandwich of players. And we'll be right back with Ross Vasiliadis on this near side. See if they can create something of this header. Ball's headed up. Good little passage of play. Dib tried to play it through. Filer tries to get the ball pushing forwards. Georgies haven't quite got the numbers. They're outnumbered in the back third by Oakleigh. And it will be the Oakleigh Cannons football here. So another little possession. Not too sure what the play was there from Ross Vasiliadis throwing that ball into the pack. There wasn't really any options there. Oakleigh had that play surrounded. They're going to try and go again down the line here. Could be a chance. The Oakleigh bench thought it came off the arm. He's guessed. Going to clear it out wide. Could this be a chance? Diaz tries to cross it back in. Salmon was inside. It's looking promising here. Labib one-on-one with Maker. And that ball soaring over the touchline once again, and it still will be in possession of Oakleigh. Very close call. It's tough if you're a referee like that. It becomes a game of inches like that, and maybe their view might have been a little bit obstructed there, Steve.
So the naked eye from here, admittedly, to the far side of the pitch. Didn't have my binoculars in my FV issue commentator kit tonight like your good self, Steph, but to the naked eye, it did look like it might have struck a hand. It would have been just inside the paint of the 18-yard box. On the replay, maybe it was torso. So in comes the ball. What a delivery by Guest.
He's taken down some branches of the tree.
Well, it's hopefully the last couple of weeks haven't been pulling down too many trees, but some branches taken down there.
That was probably his best set piece that he's taken all day. The first one, I saw the idea that he tried to thread it through down to Liston Diaz. The second one, a very low one. That was probably his best chance and probably the best set piece that Oakleigh have had here all night, Steve.
Some of the things we don't notice from these elevated broadcast positions, somewhat elevated here tonight in the old stand, the amount of purchase and the revolutions that Joe Guest gets on those dead balls. I was watching him up close as a fan at the match at Churchill Reserve back in round 3 against St Albans, and seeing him strike a dead ball from up close on the fence and seeing the way it comes off the boot, the revolutions on the ball. It's a work of art, as was that delivery there, and hats off to the Georgies for being able to survive yet another Oakleigh Cannons attacking thrust. The Georgies try and turn defence into attack here through Spiteri. He wins the free kick over there in front of his coach, Eric Vasiliadis. Big long jacket on Eric Vasiliadis. Not quite full winter specs yet, but he's going to risk getting it cold tonight here in late March in Melbourne.
This is Eric Vasiliadis' 135th game in charge, as well as the head coach of the Georgies. For Chris Taylor, his 176th game as coach of the Oakleigh Cannons. Both were appointed as head coaches as well back in 2019, funnily enough. Eric Vasiliadis appointed in May of 2019, Chris Taylor in November. So both have their 8th season this season as head coaches.
Set-piece opportunity for the Georgies. There hasn't been too many, so they know they need to make these moments count. In comes the delivery. It's a good one too. It's away by that Cannons defence. Salmon is the outlet, and they've managed to play it to his feet. Sweeping counter-attacking move. Oh, Siciliano's out of his goal here. Oh, and with the goal beckoning, Alex Salmon is hanging his head because he spurned a golden opportunity to score from long range here and make it 2-1. Oh, it's sat for him nicely too. Great work by Salmon initially in the early phase of the build-up play. Picked up that second ball, and that attempt on goal to beat Siciliano was just an absolute worm burner by Salmon. Not something of the quality you expect to see from the NPL's, arguably the premier striker of the competition over the last several years. Here's Labib. Pressure from Hayden Mustadanagic. Hoofed forward by Manos. It's straight onto the head of Maker. Strong picks up the second ball. Sinclair is back to goal. Bibb. He's trying to work through the gears. Georgie's trying to keep the pressure on. Luke Lofts was pressing monster there. This time it's Mars. You can see that pressing. Doesn't matter who's got it in the Cannons back four. That Georgies are trying to close them down. You can see even Morgan Filer there coming right out of the central defensive position to put pressure on. That's the commitment that these men in white shirts are showing, and they're being cheered on by the Georgies corner, who are making a lot of noise to our left.
The work rate is really, really good from the Georgies as well, might I add. They're just clicking in another level right now, and they're stopping a lot of the Oakleigh Cannons attack, and that's what they did in the early stages of that first half, where slowly in at around the 11th, about the, what are we going to say, 13th, 15th something minute, and they're just slowly starting to find another gear here. Kingsley Sinclair, he's definitely outnumbered by both Maker and Ross Vasiliadis, somehow keeping the ball alive, not letting that ball to go over the touchline, and that time it goes over the touchline by Justin Spiteri. Labib, I should say, will be the one to throw it in. Haven't seen too many long throws tonight, as what we're probably more accustomed to seeing in the modern game of football. A shout out to South Melbourne's Maxi Mikkola for revolutionising the long throw, and it might be a chance here. Luke Lofts, who's on the left-hand flank position, is one-on-one with Cameron McGill. Flicks it back to him. We might have a little bit of Max Dowan action from Arsenal the other day. Luke Lofts going from coast to coast. Couldn't quite deliver the finishing touches on it. It looked promising, but again, just a little bit outnumbered. He was on such an acute angle again that he couldn't really create anything of it. Here's Mustadanagic, one-on-one with Labib. Let's see if he can try and create something again. Tries to cross it back in. Going straight over the head of Brody Boyce. Ball going down the line from Sinclair to Salmon, who's one-on-one with Morgan Filer. That ball going straight into the feet of Christian Siciliano, the former Melbourne Victory goalkeeper, coming out of the Melbourne Victory Academy. Georgies, however, they've just found a different gear here in this little sequence, and they're looking promising. The cheer squad's definitely in and around them. A little boost of adrenaline for them. Little chip up goes long. Tried to go around for Kingsley Sinclair, and Maker doing a superb job keeping Kingsley Sinclair at bay. Spiteri keeping it alive. Ball from Lofts, managing to switch it up now. What can this play provide here for the Georgies, who have really looked promising in this sequence of play? The only thing they need is a goal, and another chance just goes out the window, and Morgan Filer just going to try and slow things down. This has been quite exciting, and that ball finally given up. Steve, what a sequence of play that one was. The Georgies were looking promising.
Well, that earlier phase as well, where we saw Luke Lofts getting forward, the Pistons were well and truly pumping there as he went charging forward, taking on his man. And the shot from Manos was a really awkward one, and it rebounded. Just for a moment there, you just thought Oakleigh could have spurned their chance and gone behind. His guess, thought about shooting. You can't really take your eye off this one for a moment. The teams are just going hell for leather at each other now. It's fairly direct football. They're getting the ball and they're picking it from one end to the other very quickly, creating attacks. And if they keep playing with this tempo, those sets of players are going to be absolutely cooked by about the, say, the 70th minute mark, which isn't that far away.
Also a little update around the grounds. Hume City have got on the equaliser against Dandenong City, 1-1 apiece at Frank Holohan Soccer Complex, and we go. The second half has started between Avondale and Preston, 0-0 between those two.
It's a busy night of Friday night football. 4 matches, 4 different kickoff times. mentioned that one, the earlier kickoff, the 7:30 one at Bentley. Well, they're another one of the promoted sides, as well as Georges, who we see tonight. But Bentley, a great night for Bentley. 4-0 winners against Green Gully on their own patch down there at Kingston Heath.
That'll send them all the way up into 4th on the table, Steve, as well. 10 points next to their name, so good to see Bentley back up in the top flight and really pushing up early on the table in the early stage of the season. Caroline Springs, George Cross, I'm sure they'd love to put their name up near the top as well. Mr. Diaz, the players of Georgie's, the back third, they're calling for an offside, but it wasn't given, nor was it called. And we will have a corner coming up here on that far side for the Oakleigh Cannons.
Well, Oakleigh coming into this match in 8th place. It's where they see themselves. They want to be climbing up, and they climb above Georges if they can get their noses in front and claim a victory here. Georges can snatch it. They can go 5 points clear of Oakleigh. They can get a win on the road tonight. Here comes the ball in. It's flicked onto the near post by Salmon. Good delivery by Kingsley Sinclair. Going to see the first change of the evening. It's going to be Chris Taylor, who's first to make the sub, and it's going to be an early mark for Cam McGill, coming back from injury. Gerardovich, the player, coming on. So we're going to have a little bit of a positional reshuffle. Kingsley Sinclair, as we predicted, has shifted back into that role that he's been fulfilling prior to tonight in central midfield alongside Campbell Strong. Gerardovich will line up on the left flank. Just playing out in those wide areas.
Chris Taylor just trying to add a little bit of a attacking prowess, and I mean, Doratovic, definitely one player to keep your eye on, the former Melbourne Victory Academy player. Already got 1 goal for the year as well for the Cannons, so a little bit of just attacking prowess up ahead to try and allow Oakleigh with a little bit of just positioning and awareness. Here's Liston Diaz, tries to cross it in earlier. Could this be a chance? Almost went into the back of the netting. The first touch from Adam Doratovic. It would have been incredible if that one went in. Manny Agwek-esque. Joe Guest tries to thread it through. Could this be another chance for Adam Doratovic? And the chance just goes begging. Boy, would have that one been huge. Possibly been a highlight so far of the year. A beautiful ball from Liston Diaz coming in. And that was really good goalkeeping there by Christian Siciliano. 2 teammates going at each other. Adam Doratovic and Christian Siciliano both played in the Melbourne Victory Academy. Now they're both going at each other on opposing teams. And another substitution coming in.
It's like a double sub this time for the Georgies after that moment, which definitely was the best moment in the second half for Oakleigh. Who's going off? It looks like Luke Lofts is headed over to the touchline, as is Ross Vasiliadis. Manuel coming on.
Agub Mustafa will be coming on. Ross Vasiliadis making his way off for Lucas Burns.
So 2 attackers on for Eric Vasiliadis. We'll see how they restructure their forward line after those changes. Looks like Aidan Kustadanic has moved to left back, so that's an interesting one. So he's definitely, he's not trying to just park the bus here as Eric Vasiliadis. He thinks, I get the feeling by these subs, he thinks that he can go for the win. Away from home, a long, long way from home as well.
When the game's kind of like this one, no one's really got any kind of form at the moment. When they're both kind of trading blows like this, you definitely have a chance, no matter what the score is. And I mean, they're fortunate that they ended up getting that amazing, incredible goal by Leo Marzi, but not to take anything away from them. But I mean, with the way that Oakleigh have played, it's been a little bit one-sided. However, I mean, credit to Eric Vasiliadis. He still sees his team still in for 3 points here in this one, and rightfully so with the way the Georgies are playing. Their defense is clicking. They're offensively working as well. As we've seen from Leo Marzi, we might have another chance here. Whiteley, a beautiful ball from Justin Spiteri that was trying to cross in, but he couldn't really quite manage to nail him. He was outnumbered with the amount of Oakleigh Cannons players there was. And 2 substitutions for Georgies, only just the 1 for the Oakleigh Cannons. I'd like to see what Chris Taylor also has up his sleeve, because one player I'd like to see come on will be Mark Pethoritis. A little bit of a derby game for him taking place against his former side, Caroline Springs George Cross, who was in the lineup last year for them. This time now making the switch over to the Oakleigh Cannons. Ended up playing 7 games for them. Ended up booting in 4 goals as well. Former Melbourne Knights player as well, might I add. So I'd like to see him come out there. Both of those clubs,
different phases of last season.
Mid-season transfer.
Mid-season signing at Fraser Rise. Good impact as well, 4 goals in 7. Chance here for Georgies. They haven't had too many of these set-piece opportunities. It's a decent ball away by Hampson, only as far as the substitute. Yagub Mustafa, who puts his foot through that one. That one would have brought the Georgies corner to their feet well and truly. I think they are already leaning on the fence and standing up.
Also, quickly, a full-time check. It is 1 point each for Dandenong City and Hume City, both teams that were fighting for that last place spot in the finals last year. Hume City, they really wanted. They were poking a little bit of fun of them on their social media page at Dandenong City, but nevertheless, though, both teams walking away with a point. The Georgies trying to fight back and answer, put a goal and get up here in this game, but at the moment, it's just Oakleigh that are just in a different gear right now. And as we saw again there, Aiden Mustadanagic couldn't really quite retain and get his footing there. Guest trying to recover it from the ball and the stop by Salmon. Guest and Salmon, they definitely know how to link up. Keep your eyes out for them. Salmon tries to cut in centrally. He had no player there. Not sure what he was thinking on that play. And the Georgies once again. Whiteley, who hasn't got anyone up. He's waiting for Mustafa to come up. Goes towards his left with a flick on, and that one will be sent out of his way by Brody Boyce.
Skills on show. Joe Guest combining there with Alex Salmon in 1-2 to get them going forward. The lead stuff only matched by the defensive intensity of Yagub Mustafa. The fresh legs coming on as an attacking option, getting back to win the ball off his opposition striker. It's the stuff that Eric Vasiliadis would be all about. So we wait for the longish throw here from Mustadanagic.
First one of the night, Steve.
We haven't seen that too much. Look at this turn from the goal scorer, Marzi. Mustadanagic is still there. He's moved to left back, but he stayed forward. Oh, appeals for a handball against Hall. Too short from this position. Diaz would have been offside there nonetheless had that ran through to him, but it was well picked out by Dib, and there's an offside at the other. And the game has stretched so much that there's appeals for offsides and both teams at the same time.
It's really, really exciting football, Steve, from end to end. On Oakleigh's side, it was a really, really close header that we saw not too long ago by Doratovic. The long throw now, the appeal for a handball inside the box. A possible penalty would have been looming there for the Georgies. This game has everything. The Georgies support crew's up and about. Doesn't get any better, the atmosphere here. And this man, Leo Marzi, the only goal scorer for the Georgies, he's just electric right now whenever he's got the football between his feet. Could be a chance here. Lucas Burns tried to cross it in. Couldn't quite have any space on that across attempt. And the play goes down there. The referee, Yanni Milides, won't see anything of it. Labib connecting with Joe Guest, who's going to thread it out to Labib on this right-hand flank position, who's tried to cross it in towards the back post. He had it in. Campbell Strong, who had the football only momentarily, but just a whole sea of players once he looked up to try and take the shot.
Well, how good was Filer there? Initially repelling the initial attempt and the second as well.
You got to love that from a youngster like Morgan Filer. Definitely making his minutes count here in this one, Steve. You love it for a young bloke like him.
He'll appreciate you calling him the youngster, absolutely, I think. Oh, look at that ball across the face. Siciliano at full stretch. So end-to-end stuff. If people are watching the oval ball code on the big screen inside the pavilion on the far side there, and they try and tell you that soccer's boring, 0-0, 1-1, etc., etc. Just have a look at the drama that we've seen play out in this second half. It's been absolute madness by both sets of players, and credit to them for both coming out there and playing an entertaining brand of football. It was something that watching the first half and the history of Georgie so far this season being pretty dour, it wasn't something that we expected. I'll tell you what, everyone who's made the trip out here for Friday night football in Oakleigh South tonight is getting full value for money, and maybe even more here. Appeals by Oakleigh for a spot kick. Tyler's challenge was a clean one. So I guess getting back up onto his feet, continuing the protests. He says at least give me a corner kick, but nothing doing there. It's going to be a goal kick to get us going again. 15 minutes or just under of regulation time to go.
You can't blame our referee here, Yanni Milides. I mean, he can only call what he can see, and when there's a sea of players directly in front of him, it's really, really tough to make a call, especially in dire moments like this. Leo Marzi just cutting it back. This could be a chance from well beyond range. Roberto Carlos-esque from Nicholas Dibb. I don't know what he was thinking with that one.
It's Luka Modric almost there from Nicholas Dibb, but he...
I don't know what he was thinking there, Steve.
Outside of the foot attempt, first time. Leo Marzi's involvement in that play there, again, you would probably say that this has been his best performance so far in a Georgie shirt.
Without a doubt.
With the small sample size we've had so far. I like the game of the man that blocked that cross there, Justin Spiteri, as well. We knew him as a right back and full back at Green Gully in his previous club. Playing as a defensive midfielder, he's really shown his versatility, and maybe that's even a better position for him as the ball's into the box by Labib. Juratovic arriving, the smiling assassin. Couldn't quite finish that one off.
I like the promising crosses. Oakleigh, they're not afraid of crossing it in. This is a very tight ball game. You just know that whoever's going to kick this next goal is probably going to go on to win the game. And I like the Oakleigh's fearlessness at the moment. They're not scared. They're going for those crosses. They're going for those plays because they know at the end of the day, it's gonna come down to who's going to make a big-time play and when is it going to count. Is it going to count?
Getting those crosses in so early, trusting their teammates to be instinctively making that run into the box and to be there to get on the end of it. I'll tell you what, you wouldn't want to be a defender out there tonight with huge amounts of pressure, whether you're wearing a navy or a white shirt.
Ratovic has been superb as well, especially whenever that cross has come in. He's been on the receiving end of it. That one from Labib a little bit earlier on from Liston Diaz. The new substitution, the fresh wheels for Chris Taylor. Only just the one substitution, might I add, as well. It's been really, really promising from him. Wouldn't mind seeing him get a start, and he might be on here again, once again. The cross coming in from Labib. That time, once again, chance goes banging for Cameron McGilp. Who's had so far a pretty smooth sailing game, the Scotsman. He is a A-League champion as well for the Melbourne Victory 2017 to 2018 squad. So not too bad of a performance from him out there. Correction, that was actually Liston Diaz. Correction, looking down at my call sheet. See, Cameron McGilp went off, but a little correction there. That was Liston Diaz.
There's a good chance for Labib. Liston Diaz ahead of him. He's going to look for Salmon in the middle, perhaps. Guest coming to receive it with his feet. Diaz with space for the cross. He just hangs it up. Oh, Siciliano's missed it, and it's been tucked away. And who else but Adam Juratovic off the bench and onto the score sheet for the second time this season. And Oakleigh Cannons get the all-important lead. Georgies can't believe it. They've defended so well again since they levelled things up. And it's probably, you have to say, a soft goal to concede at the moment as the Georgies fans on this side of the venue are in stone silence. A frustrating goal to concede. Oakleigh Cannons won't mind, and man, they call him the smiling assassin. He's got the pearly whites. We saw him when he scored against St Albans at Churchill Reserve. He's smiling again here because he's made it 2-1 to the Cannons.
And I told you, Steve, it was going to come down to a big play, and Doratovic, he was he was on the back of every single cross that's come in, and again, another cross, and a beautiful setup from Labib, crossing it in, and that man, Adem Doratovic, who's been the finisher of so many of those corners that have come in, and just like that, a 2-1 lead in favour of the Oakleigh Cannons here. 10 minutes to go of regular time here at Jack Edwards Reserve. Can the Georgies have one last goal in them to possibly try and sneak an equaliser here? I'm sure the fans will definitely love that, to really try and top off the trip down here, down in the southeastern suburbs. At the moment, though, they really have been outclassed by the Oakleigh Cannons. Oakleigh definitely found a different gear in this one. Whiteley hasn't had that strong of a second half here.
Just a frustrating goal to concede for Aaron Vasiliadis, and George Cross worked so hard collectively behind the ball. The cross from Diaz. Siciliano came out to try and punch. He's completely missed the ball and really presented a great opportunity. Could be another one here. It's ricochet. That was going just wide initially, but the deflection off Morgan Filer could have had that going top bins, but the goal, the Georgies goal survives this time. That stat there, 18 shots to 6, make that 19 now.
A lot better than their performance. A lot better from their performance last week. Only the 10 shots last week, along too with an abundance of pressure coming their way from the Cannons by Heidelberg United. So let's see if they can try and capitalise on this corner. Possibly try and make it 3 goals for them. That man, once again, Joe Guest with a low corner that time. Doesn't go sailing. Big boot from all the way in the back from Jordan Hall. Cleared out to Filer. Outside of the boot. Tries to get it ahead. I think he might have tried to go on to Leo Marzi. Leo Marzi's been exceptional. I think this loss might hurt, especially after that really, really solid goal that he did end up having late in that first half. He really has been quite some player here this evening. Alex Salmon, could this be a chance? It was a really good kick in. Labib is in, and the flag is up from the offside. A little bit too ambitious there from Alex Salmon, along too with Liston Diaz.
All of a sudden, Steph, Georgies are staring down the barrel of their first defeat in the top flight here in round 6. Still time for them to turn things around. They scored that goal late in the first half. 42 minutes from Leo Marzi. They've had a number of bright moments leading up to that Oakleigh Cannons goal. It'll make it all the more frustrating. Look at the number of players. They get really closed down the space. You can throw a blanket over 7 or 8 white shirts there, the way they're closing down the space. But can the Cannons break through that tight block of players? Here's Burns, the substitute. Whiteley, who started as the striker, who's dropping a bit deeper on the left flank now. Georgies can recycle possession out to that far side with Tucker. Filer, who's been really solid in his first senior game of the season, coming back after a spell with injury in the off-season and a suspension in the 23s previous week. Spiteri's ball forward, looking for Yagub Mustafa. Don't get too much on it, and the experienced figure of Connor Hampson can easily watch that run over the byline. Time for some subs, perhaps, do you think, for Georgies to try and... I guess they've already made their attacking subs. It looks like it's going to be a change for Chris Taylor, in fact, Steph.
I believe so. I'm just going to try and have a look at... possible real good look at who it might be, and I believe it might be that man in Brandon Giaccherini.
That's right, our man from the GV Suns. 22-year-old.
Good to see him coming up from VPL2 all the way up into the top flight. We'll see what kind of stability he provides. Liston Diaz, who was taken out by Justin Spiteri. Ball's inside the box. Liston Diaz pops right back up, right into space. Alex Salmon tried to get the finishing touch, well off balance there. Kingsley Sinclair pushing it up ahead. And once again, that chance goes begging. It's kind of gone begging all night for Oakleigh, even though they've been really good on the crosses. Joe Guest tries to take a shot of his own, puts manners into his own hands there, but just another chance. Just goes begging. I reckon they could have had a couple chances. And a couple scores on the score sheet and a yellow card going for the Georgies there. I believe to Justin Spiteri.
I think has it gone to Kingsley Sinclair for a professional foul?
I think it might have been.
Now here comes that double change for Georgies. They're going to clear the bench. So there are available players to come on. Manuel and Otman Benadou. Manuel, handy goal scorer at North Geelong Warriors last season. Scored 7 times.
Come on, Georgies, come on!
Benadou spent last season at Georgies. So that's the early mark for Mr. Dunagic. Looks like Whiteley, the other player, coming off. So some fresh legs. You can see they just look like they've run out of run in the last 5 minutes, Georgies. They've worked that hard. Their socks off, but reinforcements is just what the doctor ordered for Eric Vasiliadis as they try and chase this game. The ball into the box. Maker was making the run. Headed by Brody Boyce. Seats the corner though, so Georgies can throw one forward here. It's going to be all hands on deck for Oakleigh as they get everyone back into the penalty area, perhaps except for Liston Diaz, who's just lurking outside as the outlet man, should the ball be headed back out. Just looking to pick up a late runner, perhaps. That's the opportunity. It's going to be Zib to take. Decent ball into the back post area. Might have been Hampson who flicked it away. Salmon directing traffic as he plays the ball up to Liston Diaz. He's the nominated outlet man. He can keep the ball in play here, and he's charging up the left flank. Liston Diaz. Good challenge on the far side, and Georgies will win the throw. So excellent challenge. I think it was by Burns retreating back. Decent effort by him.
And there is the substitution as well. Brandon Giaccherini replacing Alex Salmon up front. So Alex Salmon, that's his day done and dusted. Relatively strong performance from Alex Salmon up front. Possibly not the outing he would like. Obviously, Alex Salmon as a number 9, he would like to have a couple goals in the arsenal, but sometimes being a number 9, you don't really want to constantly rely on your number 9 putting in goals, because then you can't really have too many other versatile options in and around the football. I think Oakleigh they have a really strong and sound attacking third that they don't have to rely on Alex Salmon constantly. They have an Adam Duratovic and a Liston Diaz that they can kind of fall back and rely on a player as well, like Joe Guest, who can, on any given day, just turn it up an aisle.
Salmon is such a good link-up striker. We've seen him up to times tonight. Just come and receive it to feed and play someone in with that bounce pass straight away. Turn and go, going for that 1-2 or
he likes that
decoy
turn and
run.
go.
He loves playing that game, and a lot of clubs in NPL Victoria would kill for someone like that up front.
A lot of his game is modelled off that as well. So Joe Guest, I mean, clearly he's learnt quite a lot from the National League over there in England, playing for Curzon Ashton in the National 6 tier. So I mean, whatever type of magic he's picked up is definitely paying off here. What can the Georgies provide here? A last-minute little push right up ahead. It was really promising from Lucas Burns, the ball. A little too far ahead there.
Clever ball by Burns, almost picking out Manuel, who was charging in that right wing with the fresh legs. That's the goal scorer, Duratovic. Concede possession, though. Georgie's got any run left in those legs. Here's their only goal scorer, Marzi. The switch of play is off target, picked up by Labib. Followed by Duratovic. A good first-time pass too, and he picks out Liston Diaz. The flag stays down, Liston Diaz. He skips past his man, but he can't keep it in play. He's wishing the Volunteers here had to mark the pitch just half a yard longer.
So we do have another substitution coming in here as well. And it will be Michael Samaras coming on for Nicholas Dibb. Possibly the last change of this game for Eric Vasiliadis here, just to try and finish off this game strong for the Georgies. A possible last-minute goal will definitely be desirable for them to try and make their long trip back over to Fraser Rise. They might have a last-minute push here. Ball's up in the air, it's airborne. Brought back down to the deck. Samaras, the new substitution, brought in, and that ball will go straight back to Christian Siciliano. 3 other games to keep your eyes on as well this weekend. Dandenong Thunder, they'll take on South Melbourne. That'll be tomorrow, and then on Sunday, Melbourne City taking on Altona Magic, and St Albans Dynamo taking on the reigning champions Heidelberg United, as we get the official confirmation. 4 minutes of added time still left to play before we complete proceedings here at Jack Edwards Reserve.
Whistle on play here. Is it scrap? Juradovic has ended up on the turf.
Georgie's fans visibly upset with that call. I mean, you can't blame Manny Milides for getting in the way of that possession. He can't predict where the ball's going to go.
In fact, it was the youngster Brandon Giacorini who ended up on the deck. So possession here for the visitors, Georgie's. It's hoisted in by Filer. Flags up for offside, and that's going to be a frustrating one for Caroline Springs. Can't afford to be giving Oakleigh chances just to release the pressure there. Professional side. Well coached, well drilled. Looking to just try and run the clock down in this last 4 minutes. Are the 2024 NPL Victoria champions. Forward by Manos. It's going to hang in the air. Well read by Maker. Well played by Burns. He's got Spiteri on his inside. Goobed his stuff up. Good work by Boyce to win it back. Getting it forward quickly was Hall, but there was no one on the end of it except for Tucker, who just sent it straight back the other way, and he was caught late by a sliding challenge by Juradovic, and he's going to get a slice of cheese for his troubles there for that late tackle. Card handed out. Sinclair and Juradovic both on yellows for Oakleigh. Ball into the box now. Manos needs to come and claim, and he does easily in the end.
Manos going to play it down the line here. Liston Diaz, and goes straight into the hands of Siciliano, who has waste no time of relinquishing that football. Might be promising for Georgies. They've had a couple of attacks here. You can tell that Oakleigh have kind of put their foot off the throttle here. It might seem as though they might be almost parking the bus here in this play. They feel pretty confident with this result. Through the 2024 NPL champions, the Senol NPL Victorian champions. How good's the quality of football been? Not only here at the ground, but just all across the competition. Not only in the men's as well, Steve, but in the women's competitions as well. Senol NPL Victoria is rocking this year as we have Adam Doratovic down.
The season, as you say. Steph Juradovic is going to take some time off the clock here. Mr. Diaz absolutely sucking in the big ones here. He put in a couple of big efforts, second and third efforts. He's been out there for the full 90. Of course, we remember him so well from Avondale as that super sub that comes on for 20 minutes and grabs a goal, charged down the right flank. He's been asked a bit more of his fitness capacity in that tank this season. And Chris Taylor would be happy to see him still throwing himself about and putting in those challenges right to the end of the 90.
Also had another substitution coming in here. James Georgiou will be coming on for Campbell Strong. So Campbell Strong's day is done and dusted. 3 substitutions in this game. Chris Taylor, he hasn't been too reliant on too many substitutions. Definitely got his trust in his starting 11 out there to really solidify the proceedings out there. And boy, have they done an incredible job out there. Just really outclassed this Georgie squad, who are, again, newly promoted in the Senol NPL Victorian competition. And they are going to have performances where they're not going to be too strong. But then again, I mean, you're going to come up against teams like the Oakleigh Cannons, who season in, season out, game in, game out, such a consistent team. And I mean, it's good for the Georgies to go back and, you know, kind of see how strong and what the level is like of a consistent team like an Oakleigh Cannons, who are always contending for finals at the end of the year.
Exactly. Good opportunity for them tonight. You mentioned Chris Taylor's subs. He used 5 last week, so we didn't want to get too carried away tonight and use more than 3 tonight as Guest plays the ball forward. Juranovic was the target, but played back. Siciliano receiving from Fire. They need to get the ball up the other end of the ground very quickly. added time is just about elapsed here. 4 minutes of added time to the 90 was advised by our fourth official, Mr. Ularis.
It's been Eric Vasiliadis tonight who's actually used up 5 substitutions. So Chris Taylor and Eric just trading in some of the substitutions as an offside call there for the Georgies.
Mustafa infringing there. Knocked his opponent down, in fact, and Oakleigh are loving this. They're just taking time off the clock with all of these restarts. Georgies will be frustrated. They've put in such a power of work tonight, and they should be able to take some confidence from this, even though they're going to taste their first defeat of the season. First half, they couldn't really create an opportunity on goal before Leo Marzi scored a fantastic counter-attacking goal, but it's going to be the Oakleigh Cannons who get their first win against Caroline Springs George Cross since they were called Sunshine George Cross back in 2006, and that'll propel them up the table. That's their 3rd win in 6 this season, and Chris Taylor's side, they're just starting to find their groove in NPL Victoria in season 2026. They get the win here courtesy of goals from Kingsley Sinclair on 18 minutes and the substitute Adam Juratovic on 80 minutes. Leo Marzi's goal in between those on 42 minutes was the solitary goal for the Georgies, who put in a good shift, but on the balance there, Oakleigh Cannons, would you say they were the deserving winners?
I think well deservedly so. They played a terrific brand of football to just get the job done. I think throughout the entire game, they really stayed solid. I think the Georgies, they had patches where they played really well, and they probably didn't play as good as what they probably would have liked to. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to come down to who's going to be the most consistent and throughout the entire game. And I think, as I mentioned throughout the broadcast, this is the time of the season where Oakleigh tend to find their rhythm and they tend to kind of sail on an upwards trajectory. So a really, really strong performance from Oakleigh after a really disappointing loss from them last week against Heidelberg United. 7,180 days is broken the curse for them. A really, really impressive performance from Oakleigh, but it's definitely nothing to take away from George Cross. They came, they took the long travel, played well, they held their own throughout the entire game, and to look at the score, only 2-1. They didn't get outclassed. They stayed in throughout the entire time, but it was just patches that really kind of let them down. But I mean, that last cross that happened from Labib to Adam Doratovic, it was phenomenal. What was your thoughts on this, Steve?
Good ball in. Siciliano will be pretty mad at himself for not being able to punch that ball away at the end of the day. He couldn't make the clearance, and Doratovic did the rest. Great to see the Georgie's players coming over here to thank the Georgie's corner, the travelling support. And you mentioned those stats there, Steph. 21 shots for Oakleigh. That is an absolute barrage. They had plenty of ammunition tonight, as we saw Kingsley Sinclair moving into that front 3, scoring the goal early on. Chris Taylor moving the magnets around, getting some players back. They're looking pretty good, and I'm really looking forward to what will be a mouth-watering contest when they play Avondale. It's always a good fixture when they play each other next week. That's going to be a beauty. A
little bit of a derby game for Tom Manos as well, and his former side.
A lot of players moving between those two clubs. You know, in the past, Wellsmore and Valentini, plenty more. But for Caroline Springs George Cross, they're back at home next Saturday night out at Fraser Rise. They're going to play St Albans, and they'll fancy themselves to maybe get back on the winners list, maybe start a winning streak from that one you'd fancy, Steph.
I'm sure they'd love to. I think a very winnable game for them as well. I mean, if you look, the last time that they were at home, Dandy Thunder, really impressive 2-1 win. Obviously a little bit of a battered Dandy Thunder after losing Yuki Uchida in kind of the end of last season. But I mean, a really, really winnable game for them. I think St Albans, they haven't really been too strong so far this season. So I actually do like Georgie's chances in that game. Obviously at home as well, it always adds it's always a different atmosphere when you're at home, especially from what we saw from a very little support crew, a very little kind of vocal support crew from the Georgies coming down here. But again, really promising stuff, and I kind of fancy their chances as well. Also, one thing that I wanted to touch on, a 2-0 lead for the Preston Lions against Avondale at Avenger Park.
Well, you can flick over to that one now as we wrap up here. You know it's time to wrap up when the gentleman that collects the steel cans for recycling is circling around behind us. So it is just about time to wrap up. But yeah, looking forward to those matches in round 7. We mentioned Avondale. You can see what their form line is like, and well, maybe Oakleigh will really fancy themselves if Avondale takes a bit of a hefty defeat late on against Preston tonight. That's round 7 coming up next week. The following week is the Easter weekend. We've got the New Balance Doherty Cup round 4 coming your way that week as well, where Oakleigh will play Epping City of State League 3 at Aurora Fields, while Georges will play South Springvale at Warner Reserve South Springvale from State League 1. So we might see a chance for some younger players to get some minutes for these clubs. Both of those clubs will fancy themselves getting through, going on a cup run. It'll be exciting to see Georges maybe go all the way to the Australia Cup and have some big days against an A-League opposition. There's been plenty of A-League teams that played non-competitive matches out at George Cross friendlies. Maybe we could see an A-League team playing out at George Cross. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. It is only Friday night. Plenty more good football coming up tomorrow. Dandenong Thunder in South Melbourne, 7 p.m. Sunday. Melbourne City, Altona Magic at 3. Perfect time riding straight into the 5 p.m. games, St Albans and Heidelberg United at Churchill Reserve. We've got you covered in the Senol NPL Victoria on the live stream on YouTube if you can't get to the grounds. But we'd love to see you at some of these matches this weekend, because with action like this, you don't want to miss it. Steph, it's been a pleasure tonight. Thanks for your company.
As always, thanks for your company, Steve. It's been a pleasure working with you.
I've been Steve Curtin, and thanks for your company on the live stream tonight. Thanks, Bernard, behind the camera. We'll sign off here. Oakleigh Cannons, 2-1 winners. They get themselves back on the winners list, and they can climb up the table. They'll be looking forward to singing a rousing rendition of the team song after that. But on behalf of our broadcast team, thank you for tuning in, and enjoy your weekend in football. Good evening until next time. Goodbye.